Okay. Yeah, yesterday what we have done is we have created a couple of servers, and then we install the web server in it, like Apache web server, and then we started it, the basic web server page, and then we have open a port into the we have opened the port of that particular web server in the security groups. So we have done a couple of changes yesterday, right? Um, so what we do is today we will be doing a load balancer, target groups, and a couple of other things. And then we will attach these instances to that load balancer. So I'll just tell you once one more time. Just a minute. I think something has happened with my AWS account. Just the session is invalid. Let me. Okay, I think we have done something yesterday, right? Sorry, which region? I think US East 1, right? Not Ohio region. It is something, yeah, North Virginia. Yeah, right. Okay, cool. Um, okay, actually, right? Yesterday I supposed to stop these servers, but it was continuously running. Ultimately, it got charged for me. Okay, but you don't do that. What you need to do is you just stop it, and then you just log out of your from your AWS account. Otherwise, the yesterday we started by this time, right? So today is also the same time. 24 hours has been already been consumed. So remaining hours you will be free. So if you cross those free limit, you would be charging again. Just a minute, guys. I'm looking for something. Okay, before going ahead, do you have any questions, guys? Yesterday, have uh, anyone tried yesterday, like the launching these instances and then logging into that machine and then installing a web server in it? Okay, since no one is providing me comments, I'm assuming everyone is good and everyone is have a good understanding about it. If not, please ask me the questions. I want a confirmation, guys, everyone. I want a confirmation from everyone. Yeah. If no one is answering, I assume it's everything is good. Okay, you are still at Marvin. Okay, you have to speed up, Kaushik. Yeah, please go through that. And even if you stuck right, what you do is you just go with the whatever is happening today, and then on the free time, you please continue with wherever you stuck. Yeah, but if you keep on postponing, right, it will be go like backlogs kind of thing only. But try to do as much as possible, following with the schedule. Okay. Okay, I think assuming everyone is good and doing. Okay, now let's get started, guys. Now, again, we logged into our EC2 dashboard, I mean EC2 console. In the EC2 console, we are getting a different types of an options related to the instances, images, EBS, network related, load balancing, and auto scaling here. Okay, these are the categorizations under the EC2 instances. Mainly, we would be focusing on the load balancing part, and under the load balancers, we would be these are the subtopics in the load balancer itself: target groups and load balancer. What we do is first we'll create a target groups, then we will attach those target groups into the load balancer. If you ask me, sir, what are exactly the target groups? What we do is a group of resources. Okay. Mm, it's not when it's a group, it doesn't mean more than two or three. It can be one also. Okay, I'll show you. A resource can be an SC2, a VPC, or ECS, or API API gateway, or a lot of different services which AWS is providing you. Okay, so it can be anything. I'll just show you this also. But before coming to here, there are some basics. At least you have to understand. These are the EBS volumes and everything here. Yesterday we have talked about the AMIs, right? So what you can do is, see, these are the some of the AMIs. What is happening is, for example, you are having a 3 to 4 instances are running here, right? You can convert these instances to AMIs. AMIs means Amazon Mission Image. Okay, so you can convert your existing running instances to AMI, and you can use that AMI while launching another instance. Okay, so if you remember yesterday, when we are launching an instance, it is asked us to select the AMI here, right? So if we do something like this, right? So we would be getting our own AMIs. Okay, so these are the some of the AMIs which already been converted from the, see, this is one of the AMI which we have taken from one of the running instance. And now when I'm launching an instance, it is asking me, should I create an EC2 instance from the AMI which you have owned or which you have created? So otherwise, you can open, uh, you know, you can select the publicly available AMI which are related to the Amazon Linux, RHEL or OpenSUSE or Mac or Red Hat, whatever the AMI you can choose it. That information you would be providing under the here. Okay, sorry, under the, where is that, AMIs. Okay, so it's nothing but you have converted your existing running images, or sorry, running instances to AMIs. That's it. Okay, so this is like a marketplace, I could say, AMI catalog, where it will provide you, where you can browse the different OSs of the platforms. So these are the some of the things related to the Linux and Windows of 64 and 32 of a different architecture on a ARM architecture, or 860, x86, which based Windows 1. These are the Mac, the chipset is a different. So these are the some of the AMIs that has been created. And totally which I have been created, 32 AMIs, which I do already have from a marketplace. Marketplace is like a Google Play Store where you can download the applications, right? Similarly, AWS also a marketplace. In the marketplace, you can download a different types of applications or resources or services from a different vendors. For example, you have created a product, and what you can do is you can create a product related to the AWS. For example, you created a product called XYZ, and if you want this XYZ to be used by the AWS resources, what you do is you need to create a one marketplace related applications related to your XYZ product and publish it here, so they can directly use it, and then you can charge for them. For example, here, if you take, this is the one of the CIS Amazon Linux 2 benchmark. This is being created by the Center for Internet Security company, and they are charging free tile for 0 or 130 per year kind of thing. So like this, everyone can publish their own related application to the Amazon marketplace. Okay, And the next one is a community AMIs, which is basically free source and open source. These are supported by the Amazon itself and others also here. Okay. Yeah. And the next one is the volumes here. Okay, when do we use this AMIs? If you ask me a question, right? So generally, um, we will take a backup of the snapshot, right? Or volumes or images. If we want to create, if we lost or anything, right, what we do is we will again use that AMI and then relaunch that instance. So this is one way of using the AMIs. Okay. Next one is let's come to the volumes here. Okay, these are the volumes that I have been created, and these are all been in use, and attached to these instances here. Okay, so if you ask me, three volumes got created for three servers and attached to these many servers here. And one more thing is when, for example, if your instance is on US East 1A or US East 1B, what you do is your volume also should be in the same availability zone. What do you mean by the availability zone here? Let me put, you have to understand one thing under the Amazon region versus availability zone versus data center. So you have to, this really important and even good understanding also here. Okay. Here, let me choose the simple one here. One minute, I'm just looking for the um, okay, this is one of the hierarchy you could say. Okay, if you see here, there is a basically data centers at the first place. For example, in Hyderabad, there is a one Amazon data center, right? And even Microsoft is also having its own. So similarly, this is a data center one. And in Bangalore also, they have some other data center. There is a data center too. Under that, these will come as a one availability zone. For example, availability zone one of South, AP South. South area. Under the south, there are two data centers. One is in Hyderabad, one is in Bangalore, and that they are calling it as the combination of the data center one Hyderabad and data center to Bangalore, are calling it as an availability zone of south. Okay, and similarly, they have a multiples zones. Availability zones. That zone is in the north or west, southeast kind of thing. Okay, like this they have a multiple availability zones. Okay, when do we use okay, let's talk about when do we use. First, let's understand the data center first. One or two more data centers together is availability zone, and like this we'll have a multiple availability zones, the combination of or one or two availability zones together as a one region. For example, as I mentioned, right, Hyderabad and Bangalore are the south availability zone, and they, like this, there are some other availability zones, and now we'll call it as a region, the combination of the availability plus region. This region, this is where we have been selecting here. Okay, US1 East to US three, right? Meaning under this region, there are 3 to 4 data centers. We can't say 3 to 4, it can be more also, but at least two data centers it will be there. Under two availability zones will be there. Under two availability zones, there are more than two data centers. Why they have providing a multiple data centers or multiple availability zones says whenever you create a resources, sometimes it will ask you the high availability zone or multi-zone. Multi-zone means, for example, you have created a one EC2 instance in the data center. If you opted for the multi-zone, what will happen is same set of instances will be created in another data center, not like another data center, sorry, another availability zone. So in order to make sure if something happened at the data center one of availability zone one, it should automatically bring up another service, which is for the high availability. High availability means your service shouldn't be down at any time. Your service should be always up and running at any cost, irrespective of any issues. It can be fire alarms, or it can be disaster, it can be some bugs. So, meaning your system shouldn't be down and at any time. Sometimes, we might heard about North America, America having some kind of an issues. Even in a few years back, we Chennai had faced an issue with the floods and a lot of power shortage. Some of the small set of data center has been gone, right? So if they have a disaster recovery plan or high availability plan, their own services wouldn't have been interrupted. To avoid such kind of scenarios or issues, right? What they have done is they would be adapting the multi-zone resources. We will see what is that also. Yeah. Okay, so what I want to tell you is if you create a EC2 instance in US1C, you should be, I mean, your volume should also be in the US1C only. So because it has to attach. Okay, so that is one thing. Uh, okay, let's create a volume here. As I mentioned here, right, there are multiple purpose of the SSDs. Volumes. It could be general purpose SSD, provisioned IOPS, especially for read-write IOPS, video processing. These are the code HD. This is a general and everything. This is a old one, magnetic standard. Okay, these are the some of the volumes that we do create, and here is the just size of the volume that we want to create. IOPS means 3 IOPS for GBs that can allow, meaning the one that you have selected is capable of 300 IOPS. Okay, and the availability zone is this one. You can choose in which availability zone or in which region that you want to select your thing. Okay, so you can create a volumes like this, and once it got created, it will come under the state called ready state. If you don't attach to anything, once you attach to any of the instances, right, it will say in use kind of thing like this now. Otherwise, it will be in ready state. Okay, this is also free tier available, but it will be charged after 500 GB, I guess so. I'm not sure. Okay, now let's select one of the volume and then see some of the properties here. Okay, as you know, this is everything is a volume ID. It is a type of GP2. It is a capable of 100 IOPS, and the snapshots. It is attached to this mission. So you can find most of the information here. Okay. So now let's talk about the snapshots here. What exactly the snapshot says? You can create a snapshot from the image and as well as the volumes also. This is like exactly the backup of your existing volume or existing instance also. Okay. So these are the some of the things related to the snapshots. Okay. And we don't require the lifecycle manager. This is managing these steps. We won't be using it out. Now let's come to the security groups here. So basically, the security groups not only deal with either instances or load balancer or anything, it also deals with VPC, Lambda, S3, and all other resources. Because whatever the service that you want to apply or you want to um, publish to the external world, you have to use some firewalls. That firewall is nothing but the security groups here. Okay, in the security groups you can create a, so most of the time, right, it will show you the default security groups. Okay, if you want, you can create a security group separately without using the default one. The main thing is, while creating a security group, it has to be created with the VPC attached. If you don't have any VPC, right, it will tell you you have to create a VPC, then use that VPC to attach to something. Because these VPCs will be attached to most of the any resources. Why? Because if you want to access any resource, that has to be attached with the network. In the AWS, the network will be attached by a VPC. That's why VPC is being linked with the security groups here. Okay. In the VPC, I mean, once you have selected the VPC, you have to add inbound and outbound rules, which is nothing but income port numbers and outgoing port numbers. Just a 1 minute, guys. Just give me a second. Okay, back here. Now let me select one of the existing security group. Let's see what are the information that we can see from this security groups. Let's see the inbound and outbound. Where is ours? I think this security group does not have this. Now let me check other things. Okay, they are allowing all traffic groups. Outbound groups. Inbound groups. Okay, this is fine here. I think this is what we are looking at, right? So if we want to access our web application from external world, you have to edit the inbound rules. Inbound rules represents the handling of an incoming request to your server. So you are saying, hey, you are adding a rule. The rule is HD. I mean, the rule will contains a couple of information, like what type of protocol that you want to allow and what it is, what port number, and from where you are getting this IP request, from where this IP is requested. For example, here, let me add one more rule here. So you can add the type of request that, I mean, the type of protocol that you want to be. It could be, for example, I want to access, I mean, I want to allow HTTPS. HTTPS will be by default as a type of protocol of TCP, and it will be run the port number 443. And if you want to access only specific IP address, guys, what you can do is there is a my IP here. Tell me only my IP. So only this IP address guy only can able to access HTTPS protocol on 4430. Otherwise, if you want to allow some other guys, you can give something like this so everyone can able to access like this. Okay, so like that, if you install any of the email server, right? So I think email server should be 25, I guess. No, I think SFTP. Okay, a POP3S is a email server. So you have to specify all this stuff, something like this. Okay, I'm not going to save it. So if we want to access SMTP, so 25 port number for the email server. So, I mean, like this, you can specify whatever the port that you want here. Most of the time, what we do deal with this is custom TCP. This is where we can edit our port numbers. For example, 9000 port, if you're running a website, you would be finding all the information. Okay. So like this, you can add it. And this is one of the security groups that we do have. And the next one is Elastic IPs here. So this is where we will be getting uh, a permanent IP. Once you created here, it will generate a one IP address for you, which you can attach to any of the instance. Even if instance got restarted, um, it won't be changed because it is an elastic IP, but it will be chargeable. Okay. So nothing this one. And placement groups here we will be talking about when we are talking about the target groups here. Okay. Next one is the network interfaces. So generally these are the network interfaces. It will be available for, if you remember, when we open our virtual server, right? When we create our virtual box and then install our Ubuntu OS, there are virtual networks, even in the cloud, like physical network interfaces, virtual network interfaces, right? You might have remember ENP0S3 something would be there if you type a command called ifconfig. Okay. Similarly, in the virtual in the EC2 instances, when you created, there will be one network interfaces will be get created. These are the network interfaces. These are all the virtuals, and this each network interface associated with a one subnet, and it is interlinked with the VPC. Under the VPC, there are multiple subnets. Under the subnets, one network interface will be attached. This is the hierarchy, it will be there. Okay. So it's just a list of the network interfaces that you would be doing here. Okay. Now let's come to the load balancer. There is a one load balancer which is already been attached here. So, okay, I think they are saying it is not supported to view. So we would be changing it here, but fine. First, let's create a target group here. And under the target group, you would be creating a lot of information. Let me show you here. A target group is a type of instances or IP addresses or Lambda functions or application load balancer. So what it is saying is when you are creating a target group, you have to you have to tell what kind of a target group it is. Is it a set of instances or IP addresses or Lambda function? Instances means our EC2 instances. IP addresses means, for example, in AWS you are creating this load balancer. Sometimes in on-premise environment, you are running your own web server, or you are running own GitLab server, or you are running your API servers, whatever you are doing. So you can access from an outside world. For example, in your on-premises environment, if there is a GitLab server is running or GitHub server is running, you want to attach that to this particular load balancer, you can choose IP address, and then you can provide the what exactly the IP address and what information and everything. Okay. And if you have some Lambda functions, as a Lambda functions is nothing but a generally where do we use the Lambda functions is Lambda functions we would be using for small set of tasks for long running purposes. For example, if you want to take a backup of every day at 12 p.m. Afternoon on the US timings, which is our night times kind of thing, right? So if you want to such kind of Lambda functions, it could be Python or Node.js or mostly Java. So these are the Lambda functions that you can write. And then this is one use case. And some other use cases for the message queue processing, which is especially, you might have heard about, right? You are uploading some video. For example, if you are uploading a video of 2 GB, it will take some time, right? So that particular time, what will happen is your whatever uploaded video will be made as a chunks, and each chunks will be processed into the queue. Or and whenever your process is completed, you will get notified, right? So that particular message processing queue, how many things has been entered into queue, what is the status of the existing process ID which is entered in a queue, whether it is completed, in progress, or fail, right? These are the status will be happening, right? These things will be done with the Lambda services. They won't write any big project to do something like this. They will be writing some Lambda functions. I'll show you if there is any Lambda functions is available here to show you quickly here. Yeah, that yes, we do have. Yeah, these are the Lambda functions that we do have related to the Java, AMI backups, taking a snapshots. So if you have here, so they have written in a Python and everything. So we'll get to know all the stuff. So what it is doing is, this is one of the Lambda function written in a Python. What does it do is it will just take the snapshot for every day and then keep it in the snapshots room. I mean, it will take the backup of the production server and then take a convert as a snapshot and keep it in the one of the S3 folders. So this functionality is this. Like this, you can have a multiple Lambda functions here that could be related to the Java, or that could be related to the Node.js, or whatever it may be here. Okay, so this is one of the, so this is dealing with the Lambda functions and API gateway. Okay, these are the some of the Dynamo Lambda. So this is dealing with the Lambda and API gateway again. So like this, they will be having a multiple Lambda functions over there. See, they have just created, but they did not added anything here. Otherwise, we would get to know all the stuff here. Okay. So like this, you have a Lambda functions. Or this is something like this is something like okay, this is something like uh, attaching the load balancer to another load balancer. If you select this, so this is, sorry, attaching a application load balancer to another application load balancer. So this is what it is meant. So generally, will in for now we would be dealing with the instances only. We will be creating a load balancer of a target group, and at the target group we are attaching the instance types of resources only, not any other things. Okay, you can try whenever you want, but the thing is, when you are creating a target group, these are only the resources that you can attach, either instances or IP addresses or Lambda functions or application load balancer. That's it, and nothing else. If some in interviews, right, there are some confusing states where can I attach S3 to as a target group? No, you can't, because the AWS itself is providing only 4 types of resources that you can attach here. Okay, so some interviewers maybe will make trick you to ask this kind of questions. Okay, so to know whether you really worked or not worked. Okay, so now I'm giving web server one, target group name, and the TCP in this particular web server, in this particular instances, which port that you want to attach. This is a HTTP, and which is under this, and health check is this. So you would be providing. What does it mean is, if you choose me something What is an IP address of it? But yesterday we have seen something, right? Apache web server page. By default, whenever you requested something, it will give you some status codes here. Okay. Under the status codes, for example, here, let me show you. See, these are the status codes here. 204, 500, 404. There are some status codes here. 200 means almost, not like almost, everything is successful. Everything is good. If you get the 400 or 500, 500 is an internal server. 400, from 400 to 499, it's all the access related issue. Forbidden access or nothing won't be accessible. I mean, let me show you. HTTP status codes. List of status codes here. Okay. If you see here, informational response, if any of the if any of the network call, I mean, if any of the web call, web could be rest call or a soap call, if it is giving a response related in hundreds, either 100, 101, 102 or anything, it's giving a informational response. If you are getting a 200 status code, 200 or 201, 202, 23 and something like this, right, you would be getting a success. If you get any of these status codes, your request has been succeed. If you are getting a 300 means they are redirecting. If you for example, if you do google.com and then you got a 301 or 302, what does it happen is they are redirecting google.com to another web server. So if you are getting a 300 status code in between, if you are getting a 400, so meaning you are not having a proper permissions to do that. So and then they are providing a 400 status code error. It could be 400, 401, 403, 404 and something like this. And last one is a 500. If you are getting any status code under the 500 series, it is something related with the server errors, meaning in the backend side there was nothing to do from your client side. 400 deal with the client side and 500 deal with the server side. Okay, why we are talking about is, if you see here, there is a health check set up here. Now, so you have to tell this, there is a one API which is providing a slash health. For example, I developed a XYZ product and this product is exposed an API called slash health, which is giving a 200 status code. Then it will treat as a healthy. If you don't give any of the APIs like this, it will tell you it is not a healthy. Okay. So this is a one thing which I want to talk about here. So it will validate the status code of these things. If it is getting any status code other than 200 series, it will tell you unhealthy target group. That's why it is telling. Currently in my web server, I don't have any of the a health related APIs. So I just give a root. Root means when you type IP address colon port number, right, it will automatically show you the things, right? That as my healthy request, nothing else. Okay. Once this is done, I'll be creating see here. I think yesterday, do you remember which web server that we have installed our web server? I mean, web address. 1 minute, guys. Do you remember? Do you remember in which web server that we have installed Apache? Is it a web 1 or web 2? Not under the way here. Not this one. And this is also not one. Okay, then web server 3. Okay, why even none of the web servers is not showing this stuff? Okay, then this is only the one. Web server 3. Why it is not showing me this one? Okay, let me check whether my Apache web server is running or not. What I do is, 1 minute, guys. I'm just logging into the server which I've been created through SSH. Okay, here is the one. Okay, I have just logged into this my yesterday server, and now systemctl status is actually running. Which is running actually, then why it is not showing me this? Okay, I guess this is not the one. 153.71. On a device. And this not HTTP. Yes, HTTP. Yeah, this is the one. The instance is my web server one only. Okay, it's a HTTP only. So now let's back to our target group. If this is the one, and which quota that you want to export to a target group. Yes, I want to export to a target group of 80 port number. Okay, so what you need to do is include as a pending below. So it is come as below, which is nothing but you are creating a target group here, and then WS1 target group, you have just done it. Okay, now once you just created a target group here. Okay, now let's create a load balancer and assign to that. If you remember here, we are accessing this web server page with the IP address of an instance here. Okay. Once you attach this to your load balancer, you would accessing this web page or this web server through load balancer URL, not through IP address. Okay. Not through IP address or not through public DNS of EC2 also. Okay. So now what you do is just 1 minute. What you do is let's come back to our load balancers and create a load balancer. See, these are the load balancers that you would be creating it. Load balancer for the application related, load balancer for the network related, node balance for the API gateway. So most of the things, if you see here, we are currently working on this. Especially our web servers has been deployed at the AWS EC2 instances, and all are related to the applications only. Okay, applications means, as I mentioned you, right? If you have an XYZ, if it is running on port 80 and then another server, another port number, if you want to load your load the balances of your application, you would be using with the application load balancer. Network load balancer, where do we use it? Especially when we have a VPN connections and when we have a multiple VPCs, multiple VPCs, which will deal with the sharing the network between the application, sharing the network between the different types of segments of an applications. This will be used in the VPN connections and all. If you remembered, some companies will have a VPN connections. If one VPN site is down, another VPNs will be taken care of it, right? And so that is where the network load balancer will be configured here. And the gateway load balancer is especially API gateway and exclusively for the API service, sorry, AWS services. You can use the network load balancer with a combination of AWS services and external services. External services can be, you have a multiple Cisco VPN networks, right? So you can use the combination of the AWS network of VPCs and the Cisco VPCs and the private VPCs also. But in case of a gateway load balancer, you exclusively use the API gateways only. Nothing, you can't use the external services from other than AWS. Okay. Now we'll deal with the application load balancer here. Okay. So, and the whoops, I'll be here. And internet facing, not the internal. Internal means your load balancer won't be useful for the external purpose, and it is only for the internal purpose. If you have such kind of a requirement, you would be using. Especially this kind of will be used between the microservices architecture if it is an internal. Okay. Now we do use the internet facing because our load balancer is going to expose to the outer world, which everyone should able to access here. And these IPs are only the IP address only, and the VPC is the similar one. Let me one more. The most important thing is you have to select these availability zones, especially. Why? Because in this only your services should be. If you create a load balancer, the load balancer will be covering in these availability zones in these regions. Okay, so you have to select. For example, it does you don't require to select all the availability zones or all the availability zone IDs here. So I have selected for the multiple purposes. But the thing is, you have to select at least two availability zones where your service has been deployed. Okay. So currently I'm selecting everything. That is fine for me. And the security group also you can be applying here. See, security group will be differ for your EC2 group. EC2 instance. Security group will be differ for the your VPC. Security group is differ for your Lambda service or whatever the service. For every services, you would be having a, just a minute, guys. Okay. Yeah, so what I mean to say here is for everything you will be having a different security group. Okay, why? Because you can use a single security group for everything, but it may confuse and it may not the right one. Because for example, if you are maintaining one security group for most of the resources, and that will be exposed to the outer world of unnecessary used ports also. Okay, that's why it's recommended to use a individual security groups everyone for every resources. Currently I'm using a default one for testing purpose. Okay, here is the one. In the load balancer of HTTP of 80 port, which target should I be select? Okay, this is the target group. Okay, so this is the one, and nothing else. If we have a multiple things, right, you can add one more thing also here. Okay, so add listener, that's it. And these are the informations that you will be getting in this particular load balancer. It is going to be the internet facing. On the security group, it is going to use this, and these are the VPCs under these availability zones. It is going to apply the resources. And finally, if someone is pinging the load balancer of 80, it is going to redirect to this web server. Okay, this is the information. Now application load balancer got created. Now let's wait for this. It is in still provisioning state. Okay, now let's select this. Let's see what is happening here. It should come under the ready stage if we want to use it. It is still under the provisioning state. Let me show you one more thing. Okay, here what we have just done is we created one application load balancer. ELB means elastic load balancer. Elastic means you can increase also the load balancer EC2 instance, and you just created this one, this half of the port one, by creating a one target group. We will be creating a other remaining two also. Just a minute, it's still under the provisioning. Let me refresh this. Okay, it is still under the provisioning. And this is the, where is this? You can access the load balancer provisioning with the one URL. Yeah, this is the ARN of it, but you would be getting a one URI also. Okay, it is an active here. So this is the DNS name. This is the what's happening, right? And now if I select this, see, it's automatically redirected to this web server. Okay, now let me, what I do is in server one. Okay, so this is what I've just been done here. Now what I do is, now let me, what I do is, let me create the same thing here. I'm doing is, I'll create a, first I'll change this Apache web change index.html page. index.html. And what I do is, I hope you can see my terminal which I'm showing. What I'm gonna doing is vi var www html index.html, right? So what I'm gonna do is, meaning this particular index.html is just displaying this content here. Okay, and even this you are able to access this one is with the individual EC2 IP and at the same time through load balancer also. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to remove this one. Okay, root side, right? What I do is I'll take the backup of this and then just a minute, yes. Yeah, www index.html var www.html index.html backup. And then now what I'll do is I'll create a this is web server 1. So what I do is I'll just restart the web server now. Here, restart Apache. Okay. I should be using sudo in order to avoid asking the password. Okay. Now let me refresh this website and see. Yeah, this is from the web server. And this is also from web server. Okay, now what I'll do is quickly, I'll just show you a couple of things here. You have to bear me for 10 more minutes. Okay, now what I'll do is, now load balance. What I'm gonna do is, in another 2 instances, I'll be creating the same thing. Okay. So downloads. Okay, so I'll be changing this. Here, so in order to not avoid of this, I'll just make as a tile here. So here, so I have to get date to home. If we get update, I'll try this. Let me install this here. Install Apache to 1.2. So I just install here. Let it go here. Now let me do the same thing here. So what we are going to do is by installing the same thing, we'll create another 2 target groups and then assign to this. And then we will assign these 3 things on the same thing. Now let me sudo cp var first, before this of this instance, I'll check the security group has been having the inbound rules of 80. Okay, now let me check this IP address has exposed to this guy. Okay, this is there. And what I'll do is I'll change this. Sudo cp, not cp, move var lib www, not www, var www html index.html backup. I have given a misspelled of sudo. Now what I'll do is I'll create a var www.html index. This is from a web server 2. Okay, so what I do is I'll exit this and then I'll just restart this system. CTL restart. Service. Okay, I need to attach the one to here. Okay, now let me refresh this and then see if I'm able to get that. Yeah, this is a web server 1. This is a web server 2. I mean, the IP addresses are different now. Now let me do the same thing with another one. Okay. Because style is a command in order to make this terminal available without a session timeout here. So here I'll just go and select the third one, and the third one name is this. And what I do is I just what does it happen? Okay, I should be doing downloads here. Come on, dude. Okay. Sudo apt update here. Apache 2 here, and then yes. Let's do the stuff here. Now I'll access this through another web page here. Yeah, this is also done now. Okay, in third web server, these are the IPs if you see my browser here. Okay, now what I do is sudo cp. Now what I do is sudo, I'll move the existing file www html index www html index, and I'm taking the backup of it. HTML index.html, and then this is with server 3 here. Okay, I'm just restarting here system ctl restore of Apache 2 service. Okay, I need to use sudo in order to avoid. Okay, now this is good. Now let me see this. Okay, this is a web server 3, this is a web server 2, and this is a web server. Okay, now let's back to our load balancer, guys. Here, what we have done is we just created a load balancer and then attached one target group. Okay, one target group here. Now, what we do is we will be creating another two target groups and assign these two target groups to this load balancer. This way, we will achieve the distributing the load between the three servers from a single load balancer. Okay. Now let me select these instances here again. Guys, any questions before going there? Because I'm gonna do for the 2 times now. I mean, one time already done. Now I'm going to do the second and third time here. Just give me 1 second, guys. You can think of if you have any questions just now. Okay. Any questions, guys? I want a confirmation from you guys because I'm gonna create another 2 times now. So you can watch me if you have, or you can stop me if you have any questions here. Okay. Now what I've just done is simply let me put you here. AWS ELB with the target groups. See here, so what we have just done is we created one application load balancer. These load balancer are exposed to the external world, for example, google.com. Okay, whenever you do google.com, what will happen is it will distribute to the multiple instances like this based on the target groups here. Okay, and the target groups, they'll have either instances or VPCs or another subload balancer or anything. In our current example, we created one load balancer and then created three target groups, and in each three target groups will have a individual instances. So this way the load is distributed to three servers. Currently, if you hit your load balancer here, right, it is capable of handling only web server one request. Okay, web server one request, meaning at max 2200 requests it can handle per minute, I guess. Okay, of your load balancer. Once we attach another two target groups here, what will happen is your load balance or your application is capable of handling 3 into 2200, which means almost 6600 request per minute, because we attached those instances. Okay, attached multiple target groups here. Okay, web server 2, web server 2, the same port number, assuming in the application of web server 2 the application is running on 80 port. If the application is running on 9000 port, you have to select that. Okay, and HTTP1 only we did not move to, because my application is serving only HTTP1 versions, not HTTP1 and HTTP2, or not neither gRPC also here. Health check is the slash, because I don't have any special health checks. Health check slash means this is the, whenever you just type your host name, that's it, that is the root. That root is representing this way, slash here. Okay, so whenever you do that, you would be getting a 200 status code. It is using the same thing for the health check purpose and nothing else here. And here I'm going to select my web server 2, and the port is, my application is running on this server on 80 port. I want to this as include to the target group, though this is a pending. Once you create a target group, it will be creating it here. So two target groups has been created here. Okay, now what I do is I'll be going to the target groups and then select this. One minute, guys. Let me. Under the listeners, what I do is of 80 port. Let me put it this way. Okay, here forwarded to target group, right? Here what I do is, instead of one role, I'll be adding a multiple roles here. Okay, add one more role here. 1 minute. This is the one, and I'll add one more listener. Here, I'll add one more target group here and then select the W2S. Once this is done, I'll do the save changes here. And then now the load will be distributed between the web server 1 and web server 2 of a 50% and 50% here. Now let's verify that here. This is my load balancer. See, now the request gone to the web server 2. Now the request server, let's refresh this. Web server 1. No web server 1. Sometimes web server 2. That depends on the the load balancer have some kind of a configuration that is like a sticky session, round robin. These are the configuration it will be having. Sticky session means, for example, I'm one of the client, you are one of the client. If for me, if it is established a connection with the web server 2, till my session is closed, the session will be sticked to only server 2 only. For example, if you got attached to server 1, till your session is completed, your session will be attached with the server 1 only. This is called sticky session. This sticky session will be enabled in the web server. This is one session. I mean, this is one of the configuration in the load balance. There is another configuration called round robin. Round robin means one by one. For example, if the request 1 comes to the web server 2, request 2 will be coming to the server 1. So it will share the request one by one, something like that. So this is how you will be attaching the multiple target groups to a load balancer. Now let's attach another target groups here. Same thing. Now let's go and create here. Let's go here, let's go to the target groups here. Under the target groups, create a target group of instances and then select 8GP. This is a web server 3 here. Okay. Under the web server 3 slash here, and the health check is the same. Next. And now I'm selecting to the web server 3, and my application is running on web server 3 is a port 80. I want to include this, and then attached, create a target groups here, and then web server 3 has been done here. Now let's go and edit our load balancer. Now select this, go to the listeners, and then select your listener, and then manage listeners here, edit listener. Under the edit listener, just add a target group of the newly created one here. So now load is distributed between the web server 1, web server 2, web server 3 of a percentage of 33.333, something like this. Okay. So now I'm changing the differences. So whatever the request come to this load balancer of 804, that it will be distributed to these many servers. Now let's check this. Okay, right? Web server 3, it is changed. Web server 2, web server 1, web server something like this. So it will take some time also here. See, the request has been getting changed whenever we just display. So this is a basic load balancing or configuring your application with the load balance. Okay. Yeah. Any questions, guys? I know a lot of guys has been done. Chandrasekhar, Kiran. So let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, you can watch this video for more. You can ask me for tomorrow's session also. I mean, not tomorrow's. I mean, next class session. But this is you can put on your resume. I mean, if you are a student, it will be good. If you're a working professional, I think you might have already know, but you might have not known about the configuration stages and the scenarios also. Okay, I think Kiran, Chandra, do you have any questions? Okay, fine then. Okay, right. Thank you. Sandeep, can you stay for a moment? Yeah, thanks. You can guys can drop off, Chandra and Kiran.
Yeah, thanks, Manindra.
Sandeep, you can stop recording.